about graphs of quadratic equations. So this is the last part of chapter 5. So this is where we apply all things that we have learned from solving quadratic equations. Let's first recall. So this is the standard form of a quadratic equations. It's always equal to y equals x squared minus 4x plus 3. So this is one equation. Now we know that a is 1. It's the coefficient of x squared. That's why a is equal to 1. And then b is the coefficient of x, which is negative 4. And c is our constant, the one without any x or any variable. Right? Okay. Now, first things first. The sign of your x squared, or the value of a, tells you if your graph is opening upwards or downwards. Okay, so let's have the first one. So we have x squared minus 4x plus 3. As you have noticed, your a is positive. So therefore, your graph is opening upwards. And then the tip or the turning point of the curve is what you call a minimum point. And then on your right side, so this is equal to negative x squared minus 4x plus 3. So as you can see, this is now a negative x squared. So if your a is negative, that means that your graph is opening downwards. And the tip or the turning point is what you call a maximum point. Okay, so let me give you a tip. Okay, whenever you see that a is positive, your graph is a happy graph. It's smiling. Okay, and then whenever you see your a is negative, that means your graph is sad. So it's opening downwards. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so there are 6 important things that you need to learn about graphing or graphs of a quadratic equation or graphs of a quadratic function. Okay, so let's have this equation again. So we have y is equal to x squared minus 4x plus 3. The first one is you need to identify what's the coefficient of x squared, because it tells you if your graph is opening upwards or downwards. Okay, so from this given equation, we know that our a is positive, therefore our graph is happy, so it's opening upwards. Okay, and then the next part that you need to learn, the third one, is what you call the coordinate of the maximum or minimum point. So going back here, so the minimum point of this certain graph is at 2, negative 1. So this is the minimum point. This is the turning point of the curve. Now next part or next thing that you need to learn is the line of symmetry. Now the line of symmetry is a straight vertical line that divides your graph into 2 equal parts, the left side and the right side. Okay, so basically if you look at your line of symmetry, it intersects your minimum point. Okay, so what is the equation of your line of symmetry? Since this is a vertical line, that means it only intersects the x-axis. So therefore, that's why your answer here is x is equal to 2. And let me give you a tip. The x value of your minimum point is always the line of symmetry or the equation of the line of symmetry. If this is 2, therefore your line of symmetry is also equal to 2, or x is equal to 2. Okay, let's say this now is 3, negative 2. That means that your line of symmetry is 3. Okay, so that's one tip. Okay, so you don't have to look for the line of symmetry, just look for the x value of your minimum point or maximum point as well. Okay, and then the next part is what we call the x-intercepts. Now, the x-intercepts, from the name itself, are points on the x-axis, on the horizontal line, that intersects your curve. Okay, so basically they intersect at these 2 points here, so 1 and 3. So these two are your x-intercepts. So your first x-intercept is at 1 comma 0, and then your second one is at 3 comma 0. So those are your x-intercepts. Take note that y is equal to 0, always equal to 0 if your points are along the x-axis. And then lastly, we have the y-intercept. So from the name itself again, this is part of the y-axis that intersects with your graph. So we have here 1 point, which is 3. So y is equal to 3. So the coordinates of your y-intercept is 0 comma 3. Okay, and take note, your graph will only intersect the y-axis once, only once. Okay, so that's the 6 important things that you need to learn on how to graph a quadratic function. Now let's have another one. What if we have y is equal to negative x squared minus 2x plus 3? First, you need to identify what's the coefficient of x squared. So this is negative 1, right? Now, again, if your a value is a negative, that means that your graph is opening downward. If it's negative, it's a sad curve. Okay? And then next, you need to identify your maximum point. So your maximum point is here. Okay? So it's at negative 1 comma 4. So it's over here. And then next, what is the line of symmetry? Right? So the line of symmetry, okay, without solving or looking at anything, is my line of symmetry equal to negative 1? Yes. So your line of symmetry is equal to negative 1 because, again, it's a vertical line dividing the graph into 2 equal parts. Okay? And yeah, so it's negative 1. And the next are your x-intercepts. So our curve intercepted the x-axis at points negative 3 and 1. So those are your x-intercepts. And then, can you see now where's the y-intercept? So it's here. So your y-intercept is here. Again, it's the point along the y-axis that intersects with your graph. So y is equal to 3. Let's have one question about finding the coordinates of points given the graph. Now, in this type of question, you're not given any number along the x and y axis. You're only given the equation of the curve, and that's it. Okay? So let me read the question. In the figure, the curve y is equal to x squared plus 3x minus 10 cuts the x-axis at 2 points, A and B. So you have your point A and point B over here. Now the y-axis is at point C. Okay, so yeah. Now what do we need to do to calculate the coordinates of A, B, and C? Now take note that for points A and B, y is equal to 0 because points A and B are along your x-axis. That means y is equal to 0 because it's not above the x-axis or even below the x-axis. So it's y is equal to 0. And then for point C, basically x is equal to 0 because, as you can see, your point is along the y-axis. Okay, so first things first, how do we solve for a and b again? So we let y is equal to 0 and then we factorize the equation. So let's do that now. So for a and b, let me use a blue pen. So if y is equal to 0, so writing the equation again, y is equal to x squared plus 3x minus 10. So y becomes 0 equals x squared plus 3x minus 10. What do we need to do to solve for the values of x? So we need to factorize the equation. So to answer this, this is a little bit of guess and check. So this is x, and then what are the factors of negative 10? That gives us a positive 3 when we add them. So it's basically 5 and 2, right? So this is 5 and 2, but which one is negative? So since 3 is positive, that means the bigger number is positive, so therefore it's a negative 2. So continuing here, okay, so this is now x plus 5 and then x minus 2 equals 0. So we now have the factors of our equation. So what's next? So to solve for the values of x, we equate each factor by 0. So x minus 2 equals 0. So your x values are x is equal to negative 5 and x is equal to positive 2. Now the question is, which one is negative 5 and which is positive 2? Since a is on the left of the origin, that means that this is your negative 5. And then since b is on the right side, that means all numbers here are positive, therefore this is 2. So the coordinates of your point A is at negative 5, 0, and then point B is at 2, 0. So those are your answers for A and B. Now, how about for point C? Now, for point C, we know that this point is along the y-axis, so therefore x is equal to 0, right? So to solve for C, let me write it here. Let me use a red ink. So y is equal to x squared, going back to the equation of the curve, plus 3x minus 10. Okay, so if x is 0, right? So x is 0. That means we just plug in 0 there. So it becomes 0 squared plus 3 times 0 minus 10. So what is the value of y? Y is equal to negative 10. So that's it. So point C is at 0, negative 10. So that is the coordinates of your